the difference between high value and high character should not be something that we aspire either or. It should be and.
Okay.
Because what makes you complete is being high value and high character.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again. Chapter 12, Marriage Key, the Key of Completeness or Wholeness. And very, very great nuggets in this chapter, I think. Good insights, good things to think about, all right, both for the guys and the gals. And so how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm
All
doing
right.
great. And as usual, looking forward to this chapter. There's a reason why these information made the cut, because they're also important. And so I'm looking forward to this wholeness and completeness chapter.
Yeah, wholeness and completeness is key in entering into a marriage and into a
Yes.
union and a relationship. All right. So again, guys, just want to make sure you know, man, I probably said it in the last episode. I'll probably say it in the other episode, but the narrated version on YouTube, and I'm thinking it's on other platforms, is the bomb. It's cool. That guy is he's a great to me. It keeps you engaged. And so the audiobook is there on YouTube and other audio platforms. And I believe you have an e-version on Amazon as well, as you can access the hard copy, right?
Yes.
On Amazon, the Marriage Key. All right. So just want to encourage you to get that. I think it's a great resource too if you're in marriage counseling or just wanted to encourage other people. I think it will be a great resource to have in your library as well. All right.
Yes.
So, all right, sir. So the key of completeness. I really I raised my eyebrows a few times in this chapter.
Hmm.
I was like, okay. And so I think it's very good though. So let me get right into it, man. I have a question. I have a few questions on my side here. I want to pick your brain on. Um, to get started. So you, there's a concept you were talking about with preparedness for the male in terms of when a male is properly equipped and trained before marriage, for marriage. But you use a line when he's properly trained and equipped to bear the heavy weight of the responsibility of a family, wife and family.
Hmm.
And my question to you is, um, why is it that most young men see a wife as a perk and not a responsibility?
Yeah, that question sort of covers the whole gamut of what we want to discuss. It's a deep question that the answer is in the question,
Mm,
where
mm,
the young man is looking for something that will cause him to feel satisfied, cause him to feel happy, something that will quench a thirst that he has.
right,
And all that is saying that the young man is looking for himself, to please and
right,
to gratify himself,
right.
not understanding that going into a relationship
Uh-huh.
requires work. It
Ooh.
requires preparation. And I would like to compare that with saying, I'm going to get a job. If
Mm,
you're going to get a job, I'm sure you want the right environment. You want to enjoy to some extent the job, but you don't go to that job thinking, what will I get from it? Except you want your pay. Yes, I understand. But you don't go in there. You go in there understanding that there's a responsibility, that there's work that you will have to do. There are
yeah.
sacrifices you will have to make, and you go prepared for that. And you make the sacrifices, and then
Hmm.
the reward comes afterwards.
Right, right.
You get paid once a month, twice a month. It comes after you've put in the work. And the same thing with a family. If you understand and you're responsible and mature enough and trained enough, then you will understand that you go in there not for how it will
Benefit you.
benefit you only, but that your intent is going in there to cause benefit to the person you're going after. And if we would go into relationships that way, it would
Mm,
make a world of a difference.
mm, mm. Yeah, as I put my ear to the young men in this generation, as I was kind of telling you a little bit before we got on the camera, uh, I if I could count 5 young men that see gaining a wife as I'm gonna be responsible for her,
Yeah.
that then 5 is a lot. And even out of the 5, I think 1 or 2 kind of really get it.
Yeah.
And all the rest pretty much want to to get with a wife for with the idea of sex and a maid.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
And to be in the in crowd.
Oh yeah,
You know,
you know.
everybody's doing it. Everybody has a girlfriend or a mate or somebody to give something to for Valentine's.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the majority of the time it's sexual. And compared to the time in a day, sex is just a fraction.
Right.
And sex is not a guarantee for a long-lasting marriage. So it is not being properly equipped, not being trained causes young men to go into relationships for petty reasons, for self-gratifying reasons, and whenever the rubber hit the roads, they leave. That is it's just simply not getting trained
Yeah.
or getting the wrong training.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think that gets us right into another great question, and I'm definitely going to be pausing to hear if you want to add any points and stuff as we go along. And
Uh-huh.
now you were highlighting some very specific things for women in terms of what they ought to look for, and I think this book weaves in between preparing the guys and the women for what they should look for.
Yeah.
But you talked about a few things. In terms of if is he mature, immature, right? Is he grown? Is he settled on his gender preference?
Mhm.
Is he somebody grinding, meaning does he have a job? Is he a grueling guy? Is he like angry, thin skin, quick tempered?
Hmm.
And has he been trained um to be a good father, a husband and a father? So my question, are these things specific to are these marks of maturity that a woman should look for, or does it exceed these things?
I'm sure that it exceeds these things, but these things are the most important that I could think of when it comes to you might have 100 questions, but 10 of
Mm.
them they're critical.
Right,
And this is how I look at it. Remember the whole topic, the theme is that you want to make sure a man, not necessarily the female, you want to make sure the male is whole and complete before entering into a long-term committed relationship with that person.
right,
It is risky to find out and to realize that this male is incomplete inside the marriage.
right.
And so to make sure that that does not happen, then the female has to equip herself with the ability to investigate.
Uh-huh.
And now you investigate by asking these questions.
Right.
It goes
Mm,
two ways. Let me
mm,
just say this. Males, you might say, well, what is there for me if the female is there investigating these questions? Well, you as a male would want to make sure that you can answer these questions for yourself. She should
yeah.
be asking, is the male mature?
Mm.
And then you as a male should ask yourself a question, am I mature?
Am I-
You see?
Yeah,
Um, uh, and if you're not mature, then that is something to work on. What makes somebody immature?
right.
And I don't want to go deep into that because that would be a topic by itself. But there's another question here that I would like to just
Sure.
a couple others I'd like to look deeper in. Does he know whether or not he wants a man or a woman?
Yeah.
So if
Oof.
you are marrying this man and you are going to say I do to this man, and this man is not sure whether he's a man or a woman, or he's not sure whether he wants to be sexually involved with a
Right,
female or a male,
right, right.
what are you doing getting married?
Huh.
I have seen cases where
Uh-huh.
respectable,
Yeah.
mature women
Uh,
get together with men who they are not sure who they are. If they want a male or a female, and they
Huh.
destroy that lady.
Wow.
Good, solid lady, well educated, mature. You can just use all the adjectives, and they get in there and just totally damage that lady because they leave her for another man.
Huh.
You need to be able to decipher these things. Is he
Mm-mm.
holding a job? A person that cannot hold a job has an attitude issue. They are
Huh.
not properly trained. They're immature. They like to fight. They argue with their boss. They don't do their work. They're lazy. How will this person take care of you?
Huh.
How will this person hold up his part of the responsibility in the home if he's a drunkard? And I'm just trying to go through these fast. If he's a drunkard, then I use the word drunkard here, but there are many other things that we can be addicted to,
Yes.
such as drugs, gambling. And you say, oh, he's handsome, so I'm going to marry him. Go ahead, mommy. Because if you marry a handsome gambler, one of these days you won't have a house because he gambled the house away.
Jesus.
And many women go through this,
Yeah.
you know? And so you need to be aware. You need to ask yourself these questions and don't ask the person. Mommy, don't ask the man. You check to see.
Yeah.
And if you're the male in
Yeah.
this case, if you have these issues, then get yourself some help. Do you have an issue, sir, with anger? When you get upset, you get uncontrollable. And you hit and you punch things. You hit your dad, your own
Mm.
father, your own mother, you
Yeah.
hit. What are you going to do to your wife?
Mm.
And mommy, you see a man with this type of temper where he hits on his mother, she's afraid of him. He hits on his father. And what are you doing marrying this person? These are
Mm.
questions that you should ask. And so I just
But I
wanted to,
can change him. I can change him, sir.
oh yeah, the same way his mom and his dad could have changed him. You're special, mommy. Very special.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll add here, just for thought, I think it's going to be very vital for men to actually have a create a good model or picture of what maturity is,
Yes.
because there's always a lot of misconceptions about these words, that maturity has a lot to do with for people in society. A lot of times maturity has to do with a certain pay scale, maybe an area you live, what you drink. It always has to do with what I call peripheral issues, secondary stuff that aren't as weighty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's good for guys to really gain a good understanding of what maturity is.
And there's
Um,
a big difference, sir, between maturity and perfection.
right.
I'm not talking about perfection. Nobody is perfect. But whenever the manual use the word perfect, it actually means mature in most of the cases.
Mm,
And mature means that you have covered a certain level.
right.
Like nobody can say they are a perfect walker. They will
Right.
never fall. You might slip on a banana peel. There
Yep.
might be a drain that you missed, uh, um, and you slip in it and you can fall. You're not perfect, but you are mature. You don't walk around falling every minute. And so there's a minimum standard that that young man needs to be able to function at before you, young lady, go and say, I do to him. And it is your
Yeah.
job to make sure he's at that minimum standard. And not
Right.
because somebody passes one of these questions, oh, he has a job. That means that person is at the minimum required standard for a marriage. Because anybody can have a job.
Yeah.
So passing one of these questions does not automatically make a person ready.
Uh, uh, uh. All right. So the next question I have, man, this is where my eyebrows went.
Hmm.
And so you wrote in the book, said the best time for a woman to marry a guy is after maybe he's had two or three divorces.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I was like, is Mr. A being sarcastic here? What's the I was trying to like pick up, and well, since I have you, the author yourself, I'm gonna ask. Now, so you said that's the best time. Now, were you referring to divorce in the context of he's had two or three spouses and they all died and he moved on, or he just simply wanted to move on?
I'm referring to it in the case of he just simply wanted to move on.
Okay.
And again, you will never find a male saying, I was a wretch, I was cheaterous, I was a cheater. I did not know how
Right.
to treat my wife. I made her bitter, and then I turned around and cheated on her after I made it. You won't find a male looking into himself. You will always hear him coming with this sad story about how bad his wife is.
Right.
And so he will move on to another wife because he told her that sad story. She believed it. Then he moved on to another wife. But the beauty with that is that while he's moving on to another wife, every relationship, he's learning that, okay, I did this, it doesn't work. I did that, it didn't work. And so he's growing. And many times as women, men grow on us while in relationship with us, and we next to find that the woman in that relationship becomes like a mother to that man. And when he's now matured and grown, nobody wants to be with their mothers romantically. So he leaves her after she has trained him, if you want to use that word, and I don't believe women should be training men. And he goes on to somebody else. Now, a man that has been through a number of divorce has been learning through the school of hard knocks. So by the time he reaches you, he is coming on closer to perfection or closer to maturity. I want to throw one caveat.
Sure.
That in the manufacturer's eyes, not everybody who is divorced legally in their country is actually divorced in his eyes. And that is a problem for a different day. But as far as you getting married to that person, you're actually marrying somebody who is not divorced in the manufacturer's eyes, and he sees that as adultery. So I want to throw that in, but outside that, the best person is a person that has gone through divorce. Why? Because in that case, the different marriages that he has been in works as a training for him because he didn't get the training before he got married.
Yeah. So, I know statistics show a lot of times that the divorce rate goes up after a second or third divorce. So you're still saying there's probably hope for him after two or three.
A person who has divorced 3 or 4 or 5 times that has gotten worse, something is wrong with that person. So if after 3, 4, 5 divorces, you have gotten worse, then you really need to stop. Because the problem has to be you. It can't be the 5 women that you sought after. You are not good with choosing women then. How come 5 times? The women that have been cursed that their desire will be for you cannot deal with you, cannot live with you. Something is wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the manufacturer also talks about it's because of the hardness of the heart. And I think if the heart stays hard through all of that, then that's the problem, right? So just agreeing with you on that for sure.
And in that case, that is the only time I blame the woman, because women need to understand their role. They will never get away. A woman will never get away from being a tester. And if you don't want to test, then you suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
So if you want to sit on a chair and you don't want to test to see if the chair can hold your weight, you're going to suffer the consequences. Your job is to test a man before you get married to that man. And we find that many times women fail in this area over and over and over and over again, because what they're testing for, what they're looking for, they do not do proper assessment. And that is where I blame the females the most.
Yeah.
You are doing ridiculously stupid, ridiculously low quality, ridiculous testing. And your reasons for saying I do, they are totally ridiculous. Then when you get in a marriage, you want to operate with sense. That's not how it should work.
Yeah. Before I get to the other question, do you have any other points or anything you wanted to throw into our discussion today?
In terms of the male entering, because this whole thing hinges on the male. This topic is for the male. A male
Right.
needs to enter the relationship whole.
Right.
If the female is not whole, it is not a problem. Why is it so one-sided? Well, my answer to that is that the manufacturer himself has made it one-sided. And the reason for this one-sidedness is that the male is given the responsibility to be the authority in the relationship, to be the head in the relationship.
Right.
And to exemplify this, to let you see why it is important, let me change topic and let's go to I'll ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
Let's go to the classroom. Who do you believe it is more important to be mature in the classroom? Do you believe it is the teacher, that it is more important for the teacher to be mature and complete? Or you believe it is more important for the little toddler, the little 3-year-old to be mature and complete? Which one?
The teacher.
The teacher. So you laugh.
I,
But it is because it is very careless and stupid to expect that the teacher can say, well, it was that little 3-year-old, he's not mature, he put the pencil in his nose and swallowed it. No. You are the person
yeah.
with the authority, and the person with the authority needs to be the one that's complete.
Right.
I can do the same thing. Do you say, well, it is better for the prime minister to be complete and mature, or
He
the
should.
teenager in the country? Which one is more important?
But it was the teenager's fault because,
Yeah,
yeah.
you are as the prime minister, you did not need to make any law to protect the teenager from his own self. So you allow a 5-year-old to drive a car as the prime minister, and then you have crashes all over the place. That is not the 5 years old alone responsibility or fault. You as the authority that should be complete should be able to see and plan your country. You go again to the police or the captain of the ship. Let me do the captain instead. Who is it more important to enter that relationship complete on a cruise? The captain should enter there trained and equipped and mature and with the ability to perceive and see things. And is the captain, or is it the passenger? You see, and so we should be able to carry that principle. A principle can work anywhere, or it is
Right.
not a principle. And we should be able to
Right.
take that principle with authority into the marriage relationship, and then we can understand why it is more important for the male in the relationship to be complete, because he is the person with the authority in that relationship, given by nobody else
Yeah.
but the manufacturer.
Yeah, that's profound. And I love that. I love the different areas that you use. And I think for some reason, and I think you made another analogy in the book where like we're far more serious in preparation for learning to drive than we are when it comes to marriage.
Yep,
And I just
yep,
wanted to try it in there. I think that's very good. For
yep.
some reason, when it comes to marriage and families, like, yeah, well,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
it actually lines up what you're saying there with a principle I have here. And I have it written this way: as a principle of surety, as a principle of surety, vigorous testings are carried out on those people who are applying for a job. There's a job interview. You have to bring all your credentials, all the studies that you have put in, your behavior in the past, your behavior on previous jobs. You have to get resumes from your school, from your jobs. If you're applying for a home, you want to build a home. Rigorous testings. How much do you make? What's your expenses? They get deep into your business. You want to make the sports team. They put you on that track. You have to show your heart is good. You have to show. And you are not accepted because you look good. You are not accepted because you have 2 earrings in your ears and you have swag. And so what I want to say here is that marriage deserves more respect and deliberations in how we choose. Because we can do it for something as simple as a basketball team. But when it comes to marriage, we just accept based on external looks. Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Yeah. 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 And that's I think if we could only understand that it's marriages and families that actually are the atoms and what makes up society. And if we
Yes.
can win here, then we'll see even it overflows into a stable community and a stable city and a stable country, right?
Yes.
It's really
That's
what
right.
that's really the end result. And so just even more important than getting ready to drive a car and different things like that, these things are important. Very,
Yes.
very important. So on this whole topic of completeness, wholeness, the male being equipped, you use another analogy about basketball, which I appreciated very much. That it's for you don't learn how to necessarily you don't learn the basics and how to play basketball while you get in the game. You are equipped with skills and different things before.
Yes.
But my question, so one would argue though, isn't there a experience factor that comes even after being equipped on the basketball court? And I'm some transfer that to marriage. Isn't there an experience factor and a growth post marriage? Is that does that exist?
Yes. My answer to that is definitely yes, 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 yes. There's an
Okay,
experience that comes while you're in it. But before we jump and start to get happy with that, let's go back to basketball.
go back to basketball.
I consider marriage to be the NBA. So everything before marriage should be what you do in college. And you have this interest and you will go to college and you will learn and you have to reach a certain level before you're chosen to enter the NBA. And you will grow in all aspects. Nobody that is alive stops growing.
Right.
You're always learning something new. Your body continues to grow, your mind continues to grow. You never stop. You always learn. So of course there's a place for learning, but since we are using basketball, nobody says, well, he's tall, so let's put him in the NBA. No, 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 no. That's no, that's not how it works. He's going to grow while he's in the NBA. Yeah, nobody can dispute that. But they won't put that person in the NBA. You have to
Uh,
go to college.
right.
You have to pass a certain standard and bring yourself to that standard. And then when you reach that minimum required standard, even then, they decide whether they want you inside the NBA or not. And so we need to begin to see marriage as important as it is. It is like the NBA when it comes to basketball. And we should stop putting people into marriages because they are tall. The way we put
Ah.
men into, we don't want to put man into basketball because he's tall. And
Yeah.
it's not because I'm a short man that I'm saying that. I don't have anything
Yeah.
against tall um
I
men.
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Not just because you look the part means you can play the part.
Yeah. Or you're ready to play. You might have the necessary tools, but having tools doesn't mean that you're equipped. If you go and lie down on a table and this person comes with all sort of tools, and you say, morning, doc, and he said, doc. And you say, you are not a doctor? And he says, well, no, I'm not a doctor. I just love to buy tools. So now, will you stay on that table?
Nope.
You won't stay on that table. Having the tools doesn't mean that you're equipped to use them.
That's funny.
So inside a marriage, a man needs to be trained. So being complete is not only having the tools, but knowing how to use them. And that man needs that to properly enter a marriage.
Yeah. It's like when I heard this on another podcast and it resonated with me because I saw it growing up, like, um, and to be honest, it happened to me too.
Uh-huh.
I tried basketball when I was in what would be considered junior year, um, and third form for us, third year
Mm.
of high school. I began to go early in the morning to the court and shoot. I could dribble pretty well, right? I could have handled the ball. I was a decent shot, but
Yeah.
that was just me in the morning. No, I remember one morning, but so I hit the court. I have the sneakers, I have the shorts, I have the tank top, I have the cap. I mean, I look like I could play ball.
Yeah.
Why this one older guy came one morning and put a whooping on me, and that's when I hung up my basketball career.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like yeah, like, I'm like you. There are a lot of times there are these guys who come and they have all the hottest gear,
yeah.
but they stink at playing ball.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying there, it's triggering me in terms of the importance of understanding marriage. Because when you look at, for example, if you're staying with basketball, let's look at an NBA game. There are millions of dollars at play. So there's a high value. And in one of our chapters, we'll be dealing with values. There's a high value to this game. And because the people that are in this league understand the importance of the value and what is at stake to be lost, then they will not just take you because you're tall, which is a tool that is good in basketball to have. They won't
Right.
take it because you're tall and put you in the NBA. No, sir. Because there's a value and they understand the value. And my issue with this is for females, you need to understand the value that marriage has, that you're getting into. And so you should not be putting people in there because they have the tools only. You see,
Right.
you need to put them in there because you understand the value and what all is at risk. And then for men that want to get into marriage, you should understand how valuable it is and therefore equip yourself to take care of such a value.
Mm. Yes. 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 Great point, which brings me to another question. Which man, it's a great statement you made in the book that we are not called to boss or train our spouses, but we can cultivate our spouses. And so I'm
Yeah,
thinking about the young man who's very excited for marriage. Like he really is. He really wants to get married and start his family. Um, and I think you were talking about this concept hinged within the area of the if a man gets an immature wife, that's not necessarily the problem. So I guess my question here, what are some practical ways that a man can cultivate his wife? Notice not boss, not train, but what are some practical ways he can cultivate? And I said, let me look at the definition of this word, and some words came up like grow, produce. Uh,
yeah,
a lot of words that are hinged on agriculture
yeah.
came up in the definition. So yeah, so how can a man cultivate his wife
There,
practically? What's some things?
there are so many ways to spin this and so many ways this can go. Cultivate is not a bad word. In
Uh-uh.
fact, cultivation goes both ways. In terms of working, if the wife decides she wants to work in a certain area, but she's not equipped for it, a man can help to pay for her education. That's
Ah,
a method of cultivation.
gotcha.
Um, she should not work because she has to, but because she wants to.
Mm,
That's the best, the way it was designed to be. She can also be cultivated in area where maybe the man loves his belly and the wife cannot cook. And he can nicely say, you know what? Let's do a cooking course together, just for the fun of it. Or he can send her to the cooking course. If she's, you have to be careful how you do it because you can send a wrong message and she can get offended.
right.
But then you're cultivating her, you're paying for her to do some cooking classes. And that's another level of cultivation. And this one that I find so important is something that is left out in the manual. And then so I want to say it the way the manual says it, but it might take too long. So I'm just going to say it. You can also cultivate your wife with how you want your wife to look while she's in front of you.
Okay.
I've seen many women put on rollers in the night. And so when they're in front of their husbands in the night after a long day of work, both of them have gone through a long day of work, mind you. When he looks at her, he sees a head that looked like it's straight from out of a sci-fi movie with cannons on the side. I know he's supposed to be romantic with this person.
Oh
And
man.
that woman is going to, in the morning, spend 2-3 hours taking out these rollers and making them nice to what? To go to work?
Mm.
So the people at your work see a human being that is beautiful, sexy, well taken care of, put together, beautiful. I can't even find the words right now. And when you're at home, then your husband sees, I don't know how to describe what he sees when he's at home. And so the first problem with that is that you should not have to be going to work in the first place. But since that is the case, husband can cultivate wife. And husband can say, I'm going to do all the work at home. Wash up, sweep, do everything. When you come home, I want you to not go in rollers until it's time to sleep.
Right.
I want you to wear this clothing. So I'm going to buy it for you. You look so beautiful in it. And he cultivates his wife by telling her how beautiful she looks and by encouraging her to know what he likes to see her in. If you can dress your wife in the clothes that you, and I'm not trying to be perverted and trying to, you're not trying to let your wife be somebody else.
Right.
But she has all the tools that can make her look sexy. She has a body. And then you can turn around and help her with the clothing that you like to see. That you know when you are passing out there and you see another lady on the street that has on these short, their body half covered, things that are tight, things that are low cut, and that catches your eye as a man, you can encourage your wife to wear these things. So you get that at home, and getting that at home means that you have no desire for it. There's no desire for it from anybody else because you get it at home. You see? And so this is the thing. This is the thing where a man can also cultivate his wife and have her at home dressing a certain way so that he can keep his hands off her. You see? And in the manual, it tells us to do that. And you might say where, and that might be a topic for another discussion. But
Proverbs
it
5,
tells a man
sorry.
to dress his wife. Huh? Say it again.
Proverbs 5, but go ahead. I just remembered it. Go ahead though.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is paramount. That cultivation for me is important because you don't want to be more desirable of as a man, you don't want to be more desirable of women that are passing on the street than your wife.
Yeah.
And so the woman on the street, especially the one that is not working because it's a younger person, has no stress, has no gray hair, has no picnic, no children to take care of. You don't want to like to see that woman more than your wife. So you need to take a lot of the stress from off your wife so she can look younger and not be stressed out and tired. And then you turn around and encourage her, give her the finance and encourage her with how you like to see her. And when she dressed that way, because men are turned on by what we see, then you are turned on by your wife and you can tell her how sexy she looks and how beautiful she looks daily. And be honest with it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's
that
good.
is how deep I would take the cultivation.
Yeah, I like that because it talks about different layers and dimensions about it's not a one area, one dimension cultivation. There's so many different it's cultivating her holistically
Yes,
in terms of from the external to internal and all of that, because if she wants to also maybe grow in us managing emotions and spiritual, like all of that, we need to foster that as well. So and it reminds me of a conversation we had a while ago about the husband man
yeah,
and creating that environment
that's
and
right.
all of that. What I'm hearing is we're called to foster.
That's
Um,
right.
whether we want to think she's immature or not, we're actually called to foster our wives
And
and their growth.
the beauty with what you're saying there, if we can add this, is that you're always cultivating. It's not
Yes,
something that you have to be
right.
determined to do.
It should just be a byproduct
It
of being a husband.
right, but you're always cultivating. It's a byproduct that is always there. So it's mentioned in the chapter, you can turn your wife into anything you want because you're always cultivating. If you're not emptying the garbage, if you're not helping with the kids, if you're coming home late every day, staying out there and being flirty with other women, you're cultivating your wife. You're cultivating her to be a bitter, quarrelsome, nagging, howsoever else you want to put it, person. And you can cultivate that by doing just nothing. You can come home, do nothing, and just put your feet up, and you're going to cultivate a bitter wife. So you're always cultivating, whether you're actively trying or whether you're being negligent, you're always cultivating.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. I think my last question I have for us today, man, you ended with like again a good challenge and a good encouragement for the woman in terms of not because he looks good, is tall and has possession means he's fit for the job as a husband or
Yeah.
father. And I think society today has so much emphasis on a high value guy versus a high character guy. And I want to see how we can swing this question both ways to land on for the men and for the women. It's how what's your encouragement to guys who feel they need to put emphasis on becoming a high value guy versus a high character guy? And also your advice for women in feeling like a high value guy is where it's at, and then they could miss a high character guy.
Yeah. It's a very good question in the sense that it sort of encapsulates what we have discussed earlier, that these many questions that we encourage you as women to ask
Sure.
to find out if a man is complete. The difference between high value and high character should not be something that we aspire either or. It should be and.
Okay.
Because what makes you complete is being high value and high character. Okay? And high value, depending on what is considered high value, is still high value. High is only comparable to itself. And I'm saying that to say that somebody might say this thing is warm. Well, there are just different levels of heat. So you have warm and you have hot, but it is simply different levels of heat. In case of somebody who is high value, you can have somebody making minimum wage and is still high value. Because high value depends on the standard that a person has.
Right.
So making millions of dollars and having high value in terms of money might not necessarily make that person have high character. He might be a very unfaithful person, a person who is abusive. We have a guy right now in the news that's very rich, and he beats on women. They have videos of him beating on a woman as if she's a rag doll. And he's not a small guy either. So here is a high value man, but to balance it off, I say you need both. And what you can do, and I don't want to turn this into a mathematical class, but I'll say this. What you do, I would encourage you to take the high value and mathematically average it with the high character. So add them together and divide them. But let the high character carry more weight.
Right.
But don't deny the importance of proper value. I don't want to use high or low value. Proper value. If the man does not have, he's not working, then he's not within the proper value. If he's working hard, he has a job, he has an education, he's working, then he might be within proper value. You can determine that value. But take both of them, add them together, and then divide them. And have a minimum standard. So a millionaire would be considered somebody that has proper value. So if the value total is 10, then he gets 10 for being a millionaire. When it comes to character, having the proper character, maybe he's at 1. So out of a total of 20 possible points, he has 11. That's a failure. Because you should not marry that person unless he is 90% ready. So he has to get a lot more than 1 for his character for that average to work.
Mhm.
That is how I would say become a mathematician and calculate it.
See, guys, this is a caliber of guy, a man that we have today. He doesn't only write books. He writes math problems. And to write a math problem, you really got to know you gotta know maths like that to write a math problem. I mean, that's the caliber of guy that we have, man. Sir, do you have any final thoughts today as we wrap up this episode?
I just want to say that the whole idea of this chapter is for the male to be complete.
Mm-hmm.
So you as a woman should be able to test to see if he's complete before marrying to him. Because your testing after marriage after dating is finished and marriage has started, you should still continue to test, but it is testing his visions and his dreams to help him.
That's good.
So before marriage, that is where you test. Now, if you did a horrible job of testing before and you married a rascal, and this rascal comes to a place where he realizes he needs help, or it has gotten so bad that you have separated and he wants to come back, then go back to dating and test again. And you should insist that before you come back here, before you step foot in this place, you have to be approved by NBA coaches and
Standards, yeah.
NBA standards to enter into this marriage.
Uh,
Don't make the same mistake twice, because now it is shame on you again. This is twice shame on you. And that is my challenge to you as females. My challenge to males, if you're failing, let me tell you how you know you're failing. Your wife is unhappy. Your wife is unfulfilled in the relationship. That is how you know as a man you are failing. If you find yourself in this position, then get some training. Get equipped. Get prepared so you can reach NBA standards. And that would be my advice to the male.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm telling you, not just an author, but I'm a mathematician, right? So, male plus no equipping equals 0. Male plus equip equals 1 complete man. And that's my
right.
problem.
That's right. Love it.
Our session today, guys. Thank you for walking with us, rocking with us. Until next time, chapter 13 is coming up for the marriage key. We'll see you later on, guys.
Take care.